It's June 14th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with President Yoon's Uzbekistan state visit. The South Korean leader is now in Uzbekistan for the third and final stop of his week-long Central Asia trip. He'll be looking to clinch cooperation in energy, supply chains, and core minerals. The U.S. and Ukraine sealed a bilateral security pact that ensures 10 years of Washington's security commitment to Ukraine. G7 leaders also agreed to lend Ukraine $50 billion using frozen Russian assets. The South Korean government remains firm about how strictly it will respond to illegal acts related to doctors' collective action ahead of their planned mass walkouts next week. Medical professors at Seoul National University are holding a press conference to explain themselves this afternoon. President Yoon will be sitting down for a summit with his Uzbek counterpart today. He's hopeful Seoul's special strategic partnership with Uzbekistan will scale up their cooperation in energy and critical minerals. Our Oh Soo-young searches us off.
President Yoon Suk-yeol plans to ramp up South Korea's special strategic partnership with Uzbekistan through stronger cooperation in resources and infrastructure, as well as cutting-edge technology. In a written interview with an Uzbek media outlet published Thursday, ahead of his state visit to the Central Asian country, Yoon said he aims to bolster bilateral ties to become more mutually beneficial and future-oriented. Since establishing diplomatic ties in 1992, South Korea and Uzbekistan have broadened the scope of their economic cooperation to include automobiles, energy, electronics, textiles, finance and telecommunications, with bilateral trade hitting an all-time high of $2.46 billion last year. Yoon said his three-day visit will aim to build on the two countries' special strategic partnership forged in 2019 and establish close cooperation on energy, infrastructure and supply chains, and crucially, critical minerals to power Korea's high-tech industries, including semiconductors. The president highlighted advanced digital technology and AI semiconductors as key areas of collaboration. In a summit with Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev and a bilateral business forum scheduled Friday, Yoon also plans to back Korean companies in their efforts to secure local energy and infrastructure projects and make inroads into other industries.
So far, Korea-Uzbekistan relations have made remarkable progress centered on the energy and infrastructure fields. And today, cooperation is expanding to more diverse fields such as supply chains, healthcare, climate change, education, and public administration.
Acknowledging the 170,000 ethnic Koreans living in Uzbekistan, Yoon described it as a brother nation, as it's the only country in the region that has a special strategic partnership with Korea. He also pledged greater interest and support for overseas Koreans going forward.
President Yoon says he hopes the two sides will create a 21st century Silk Road through broader cooperation and human exchanges in cutting-edge fields, and as core partners of Seoul's new K-Silk Road initiative designed to boost engagement with Central Asian countries in economic security, development and culture. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News, Tashkent.
And in light of President Yoon's visit to Central Asia, we must mention Koryo-saram, meaning ethnic Koreans living in Central Asia. Our correspondent Song Yu-jin explains how they've laid out a bridge between South Korea and the region.
The term Koryo-saram, meaning Koryo people, has two meanings. One refers to those who lived in the ancient Koryo kingdom on the Korean peninsula around 1,000 years ago. The other refers to ethnic Koreans who lived in the former Soviet Union and their descendants. Currently, there are around 500,000 Koryo-saram worldwide, with approximately 300,000 residing in Central Asia.
They call themselves Koryo-saram because they came from Korea before it was divided into North and South. The name Korea is derived from Koryo, also romanized as Koryo.
The first records of Koryo-saram date back to 1864 when, due to economic hardships, around 60 Koreans from Hamgyongdo province crossed the Tumen River to settle in Russia's Far East Primorsky Krai. Historians say this marked the start of Korean emigration. More people continued to move to the region, but in 1937, under Soviet leader Joseph Stalin's orders, over 200,000 Koryo-saram suspected of being Japanese spies were deported to Central Asia.
Forced relocation to Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan was treacherous. In the initial years, mortality rates were high, especially among children and the elderly, due to the cold, harsh weather, and lack of necessary infrastructure.
Despite these challenges, Koryo-saram persevered through what experts call their diligence. Working on collective farms known as cohorts, they earned recognition and respect in their new homelands. Over time, many broadened their roles in society, becoming doctors, lawyers, teachers, and scientists.
The strong commitment of Koryo-saram to education was truly remarkable. They did everything they could to send their children to college, and if possible, even abroad to places like Moscow. Rather than staying in farming, these parents relentlessly pushed their children to pursue higher education.
What also makes Koryo-saram unique is how they preserve their Korean heritage and identity.
Their identity is maintained not through the most common ways of religion or language, but through traditional cultural practices. Even today, many Koryo-saram families follow traditional Korean customs in their daily lives, such as funeral ceremonies, often more intricately than those living in Korea, maintaining a sense of connection to their heritage.
Having endured more than a century-long journey of resilience and cultural preservation, Koryo-saram serve as a bridge between Korea and Central Asia. 송유진, Arirang News.
President Yoon's ambitious Central Asia trip is nearing an end with his last stop in Uzbekistan today. Let's look back on his week-long trip and what lies ahead for the last day with Professor Kim Dong-soo this morning. Welcome.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. So numerous deals were inked this week, and there are more to come today. The question is, what took so long to reach all these agreements with Central Asian countries?
Yeah, actually, when it comes to diplomatic relations, the bilateral agreements need mutual interest. Mm-hmm. Indeed, for the past decades, both sides of South Korea and Central Asian countries have not found mutual interest, actually. This trend has changed recently. South Korea is looking for new opportunities in this area, such as natural resources and energy. And the Central Asian countries are also interested in South Korea's advanced technology and soft power.
So seeking mutual interest and also looking for that win-win situation here, President Yoon has held numerous rounds of summits with leaders from countries, all around the world. He's been hosted and has hosted many others. The question is, why Central Asia and why now?
President Yoon's focus on Central Asia is coming from several strategic considerations, most importantly, for economic consideration. Central Asia is a region with the rich natural resources like oil, gas, and minerals, which makes the region attractive for economic partnership and energy cooperation. Mm-hmm. Furthermore, Central Asia is located at the crossroads between Asia and Europe and the Middle East. So President Yoon can position South Korea as a valuable partner in regional development projects and economic initiatives.
So you're saying Central Asian countries possess what South Korea lacks, natural resources and core minerals, but instead South Korea has the technology to process those minerals. Then, Professor, please explain in detail how the synergy works and what such collaboration can lead to.
The synergy between Central Asian countries' natural resources and South Korea's technological expertise in mineral processing may lead to mutually beneficial collaboration. For example, South Korea's advanced technology in mineral processing can make efficient extraction and refining those resources possible. South Korea can secure a stable supply of raw materials for its industries, and Central Asian countries can be provided the technological know-how to enhance the extraction and processing capabilities. Also, both sides can benefit from infrastructure development. South Korea's expertise in construction, engineering, and project management can contribute to the development of transportation networks, energy infrastructure, and industrial facilities in Central Asia, which is expected to facilitate the efficient utilization of natural resources and to promote regional connectivity.
Right, and today the leaders of South Korea and Uzbekistan are taking their time to broaden their cooperation in strategic areas on top of the core minerals and critical minerals that we just talked about. That is securing an advanced science technology hub. Now, how or in what ways can the two sides work together to do so?
I think that is a very interesting idea. Both sides can collaborate on joint research projects in strategic areas of science and technology, such as informational technology, biotechnology, renewable energy, and advanced materials, and so on. So both sides can accelerate innovation and technological advancement, which will lead to the creation of a vibrant research ecosystem within the hub. Also, both countries can collaborate on infrastructure development projects to support the establishment of the science and technology hub. This may include the construction of research facilities, innovation parks, incubators, technology transfer centers. So I think South Korean companies can play a key role in this process.
Definitely. Now, before I let you go, President Yoon has been highlighting the need for Central Asian countries' participation in dealing with North Korea issues. Now, why is that, and how can these Central Asian countries play, constructive roles in such matter?
As a matter of fact, Central Asian countries may not be central players in the North Korean issue, but their involvement can contribute to international effort to address the challenges posed by North Korea's nuclear program and to promote peace and stability on the Korean Peninsula. So through diplomatic engagements, mediation, humanitarian assistance, and compliance with sanctions, Central Asian countries can play some kind of constructive roles in supporting diplomatic dialogue and efforts to achieve denuclearization and sustainable peace in Northeast Asia.
Definitely, especially when it comes to keeping that regional peace and security like you mentioned. All right, Professor, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you, you too.
The leaders of the U.S. and Ukraine signed a 10-year bilateral security agreement aimed at strengthening Ukraine's defense against Russia. And G7 members also agreed to lend Ukraine $50 billion using Russia's frozen assets. Lee Seung-jae has more.
This year's G7 summit, held in Italy, focused on a number of global issues, including the prolonged war in Ukraine. On the sidelines of the summit on Thursday, U.S. President Joe Biden and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky agreed on a 10-year security agreement aimed at strengthening Ukraine's defense against Russia. While the pact does not commit the U.S. to supply troops to defend Ukraine in case of an attack, it does commit Washington to hold high-level consultations with Kyiv within 24 hours if such an attack occurs. The U.S. will also continue to train Ukraine's military, deepen cooperation on defense industry production, and share more intelligence. The agreement also aims to help build Ukraine's long-term deterrence across multiple domains, including air, sea, and cybersecurity. Meanwhile, the G7 leaders also agreed on Thursday to lend Ukraine $50 billion using frozen Russian assets. While the final agreement still needs to be hashed out, most of the money would be lent by the U.S. government using windfall profits from the roughly $300 billion in frozen Russian assets. However, the vast majority of the frozen assets are being held in European Union nations. The U.S. and its allies froze all Russian central bank assets outside of Russia when Moscow invaded Ukraine in 2022. NATO will also aim for an agreement to provide over $42 billion in aid annually to Ukraine. Speaking at a press conference on the first day of the NATO defense ministers' meeting in Brussels on Thursday, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said that the agreement could be signed next month at the NATO summit in Washington. He added that the burden of annual financial support would be shared equally among the Security Alliance members. However, Hungary, which has long opposed military support to Ukraine, withdrew from the plan early on. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
As the date for planned mass walkouts from big universities and smaller community hospitals approaches, the government has announced plans for dealing with this situation in the coming weeks. Our Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
South Korea's government has vowed to take a strong stance against no-show medical professionals, as doctors and medical school professors are due to take collective action starting next week. During an emergency briefing on Thursday, the government stated that as medical law stipulates, a medical practitioner cannot refuse to treat patients without a justifiable reason. The planned walkouts would be treated as illegal acts.
Government will prioritize the people's lives and health and maintain emergency medical care while responding firmly against illegal actions.
Members of the Medical Professors Association of Korea, with professors at 40 universities around the country, will take a day off next Tuesday in solidarity with the Korea Medical Association in a move against the government's medical school quota hike. In a separate move, other major university hospitals are scheduling indefinite walkouts, the first being professors at Seoul National University Hospital starting next Monday. They attempted to ease the public's concerns by stating that only scheduled appointments and surgeries would be affected, and emergency treatment and the intensive care unit would be supplemented with additional staff. The Emergency Response Committee for Medical Professors at SNU is due to hold a press conference on Friday afternoon to explain its stance further. On the day of mass walkouts, the government plans to note which medical institutions are participating in collective action and will issue an administrative order to return to work if leaves of absence surpass 30% in each city. With little time left until the day of action, the KMA said it could reconsider if the government changes its stance and requested talks with the KMA as a representative of the medical body. The statement has been met with backlash from other doctors' groups, such as the one for junior doctors, with its head declaring on his personal Facebook page that the KMA does not represent them. Meanwhile, groups representing patients' rights responded to the news with a demand to withdraw collective action plans that threaten the lives and welfare of patients. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
The Korea Economic Research Institute on Thursday revised South Korea's economic growth rate for this year up from its previous 2% forecast to 2.4%. The institute cited improvement in export performance due to an improved global economy as the reason for the upward revision. It said the increase in semiconductor exports, thanks to greater demand for AI, will be a major factor in improving the overall export performance. However, the recovery in domestic demand will be delayed until the high exchange rate and high inflation trends ease.
Good morning, I'm Kim Seong, and now we turn off to stories from around the world. Former U.S. President Donald Trump returned to Capitol Hill on Thursday for the first time since the January 6th riot of 2021. Trump gathered the full House of Republican lawmakers, where he delivered freewheeling remarks. Let's have a look at what he said.
As you know, with the full House, Republican House today, and we had a tremendous meeting with them also, and there's great unity, and there's one thing in common: we want to make America great again. We want to make our country great again. We're a nation that's in decline. We're a declining nation. We're a nation that is being laughed at all over the world. We have a leader that's being laughed at all over the world.
Trump spent about an hour delivering remarks on topics including Russia, immigration and abortion, as well as stressing unity among Republicans and promising to work out differences within the party. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, a known critic of Donald Trump, called the visit really positive, adding that he got a lot of standing ovations. Former Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, on the other hand, released a statement saying that Trump was returning to the scene of the crime. Tesla shareholders on Thursday reapproved a pay package worth around some $50 billion for the company's CEO Elon Musk, a compensation package previously thrown out by the Delaware judge earlier this year. Shareholders voted on two measures: Musk's pay package from 2018, which allows him to buy 303 million Tesla shares at a hugely reduced price, and the transfer of the electronic car company's incorporation state from Delaware to Texas. Tesla did not disclose the exact vote results, but Elon Musk posted on his social media X overnight that he had the support needed to pass the measures. The Tesla CEO won't receive the all-stock compensation package immediately. The pay package will likely remain tied up in the Delaware court for an extended period of time as Tesla appeals the court's rejection. U.S. transgender swimmer Lia Thomas lost an appeal against World Aquatics at the Court of Arbitration for Sport on Wednesday, challenging its policy barring transgender athletes from women's competition. 25-year-old Thomas became the first transgender NCAA champion in Division I history, but was later barred from elite-level competition because of a World Aquatics policy that says only transgender athletes who complete transition before the age of 12 are allowed to compete. Thomas will now be ineligible for women's trials for this summer's Paris Olympics. Over 1.5 million Muslim pilgrims have made the journey to Saudi Arabia's holy city of Mecca, as Friday, the 14th of June, marks the start of this year's Hajj. One of the world's largest annual religious gatherings, the Hajj is seen as the most significant manifestation of Islamic faith and unity, and must be performed at least once in a lifetime by all Muslims with the means to do so. The official Saudi press agency reported that as of late Monday, some 1.5 million pilgrims arrived in Saudi Arabia from abroad for the 5-day religious ritual. The Gulf Kingdom's Minister of Religious Pilgrimages stressed that no political activity will be tolerated and that the focus must be on the prayers.
Good morning. The blistering heat wave continues today with record-breaking warmth in store for the capital area. And it seems people are more exhausted and stressed from the heat nowadays, knowing it's only mid-June and it will only get hotter through August. So it is important to be aware of the signs and symptoms associated with heat-related issues. Drink plenty of water and stay in an air-conditioned area during the hottest parts of the day. And this afternoon, Seoul and Gwangju will get up to 33 degrees Celsius. Daegu, Gyeongju, Daejeon will see a high of 34 degrees with very high UV rays nationwide and a chance of passing rain in southern inland regions. Speaking of rain, the capital and Gangwon-do province and Jeju Island could see 5 to 20 millimeters of showers tomorrow, while southern parts of Korea could see passing rain. And that rain will bring much needed heat relief to the upper regions, but not so much to southern provinces. Then temperatures continue to stay above norms next week. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back next Monday at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.